Hey, what's going on, everybody? Manny here once again. Welcome to DFS Zone. I have a new NBA DFS video for you guys today. But before I go over today's 9-gamer in the association, I appreciate you guys drop a like on the video. It helps my channel a whole lot. If you're new to the channel, you have never been here before, never seen any of my videos, the only thing you need to do to be a part of the community, get access to the videos, and I've done over 350 plus videos on this channel in the last 16 months or so, is to become a subscriber. So if you have not subscribed as of yet, before you go, please do. And don't also forget to put on your post notifications, that bell icon. Make sure you turn that on so this way you don't miss out on any of my new videos. And I post up an NBA video every day of the week, Monday through Saturday, except for Sunday because of the NFL. When the NFL season concludes, there will be videos for the NBA all 7 days of the week, all the way through the playoffs into the end of the season. The entire NBA season will be covered here as well. All right. With that being said, today is Monday. It is November 18th, 2019. 9-game slate in the association today. And of course, before we get started, I also hand out a weekly giveaway here for my player pool. We have a new winner for this week. This week's winner for the player pool, you'll have access to the player pool for every game of this, every slate over 3 games during the course of this week. Now, granted, this week I think on Thursday, there's only 2 games on the slate. So if there is really just 2 games on the slate that day, you will not have. So you'll get 6 out of the 7 days. I don't do player pools for 2-game slates. It's either 3-game main slates or better. So, but I am going to give out a weekly giveaway. The weekly giveaway today, the winner for this week's is My Simply Fancy Home. My Simply Fancy Home. Thank you so much for commenting a couple of times last week. You were put in the drawing. Again, everybody, the only thing you have to do to be a part of that drawing, if you want to get my player pool, it is basically just like the video, comment down below, and make sure that you are a subscriber to the channel. As long as you have all 3 of those things, you are in the drawing for next week, and that's conducted every Monday. Now, if you want to get access to that player pool, that same player pool that individual is being given for a whole week, that is available to you guys. I did open up a Patreon page where I have a couple of different tiers there. I got weekly tiers and monthly tiers, and I do have that player pool available for those who are interested. The link is in the description of this video, so make sure you go down and take a look and become a patron. As soon as I have like 20 or 30 members or so there or better, I'm thinking of going live before lock as opposed to just doing the Discord. But that also includes Discord. And the Discord is only available, the private Discord chat is only available for those who are monthly members. So, if you decide to do a weekly tier, that is not including that. Okay. But I got player pool, GPPs, cash plays, value plays. I have a combination of 2 different tiers. Check it out. And of course, I would love to have some feedback. If anybody is looking for something in particular, I don't do lineups. So, again, I say that over and over again because I'm a GPP player, and I feel this will be a disjustice for me to set up one line when I do multiple lines. And sometimes like a slate like today, I have 9-game slate. There will at least be about 2 different core lines that I'm going to poly focus on, mix match a few guys. Maybe some of the lines I may have a 30-40% on one particular player. He might be on both of my cores. But overall, on a 9, 8, 10-game slates, all those big slates like that, usually for me, I have about 2, sometimes even possibly 3 sets of core lines that I really, really like. And then I do a lot of multiple lineups with that. So it's unfair for me to just choose one and say, hey, you know what? I think this is going to give you the best chance. There's no guarantee on that. There's no guarantee anywhere. But there are people out there that do give out lineups if you're looking for a particular lineup for GPP or cash. I prefer to give you guys options, but give you the best possible options with all my due diligence. So if you're interested in that, that will be on my Patreon page. And again, that's pretty much it. So that's in the link of this description of the video. All right, let's get to it. So My Simply Fancy Home, the only thing you have to do is hit me up on Twitter or on Instagram. I prefer either one of the 2. On Instagram, I can give you an audio of the player pool, and then the same thing on Twitter. I can just text it to you, send you the message with the players that we're looking at for the player pool, okay, for the day. And then you make those lineups. And if you wanted to just, ask questions, there's no problem with after I give you the player pool that you're undecided on a couple of players. I can go and look at my information on what I have, and I can tell you more or less where I think it's an option for you to go, okay, if you want to narrow down the plays a little bit more. All right, so today let's go over the injuries. So we got a 9-game slate in the association today. We got a couple injuries in the Cleveland-New York game. We have the New York Knicks Mitchell Robinson is a game-time decision. Cleveland has Larry Nance Jr. as a game-time decision. Got to watch that. Indianapolis, this is a big one. The Indy News, Brogdon is supposedly, I believe, is out. T.J. McConnell is a game-time decision. If he plays, obviously he is an option. Okay, so remember that. Sabonis, before doing the video, I did get a notification that he is playing and he is starting. At first, I would have went Sabonis. If I would have went Turner if there was no Sabonis, that would have been an uptick there. I'm a little worried now. You could play either one of those guys, Sabonis or Turner, in today's matchup against Brooklyn, because obviously they do have their issues up front, but that's going to take away from each one of the guys, at least in my opinion. Kyrie Irving for Brooklyn, if he happens to be out, obviously there's going to be a major bump for Dinwiddie. He gets the biggest bump out of everybody, but then you got to look at guys like Prince. You could look at guys like Harris. Those guys will be options as well as far as usage is concerned for the shots that Kyrie would be taking. But if Kyrie's in play, then I will probably be more on Kyrie than being on Dinwiddie or someone else. Charlotte, Toronto, you got no injury. You got actually no injuries there. The Houston game versus Portland, Zach Collins obviously is out. That's old news. You got Daniel House is a game time decision and Capella is a game time decision. The Capella news is big because if Capella is in, then I'll be a little wary of playing Whitehouse. Whitehouse would be a great play going up against them for Portland with no Capella. So I'll explain that more as we go into the actual players in the that I'm looking at today. Milwaukee, Chicago, the biggest news there is Zach LaVine. If Zach LaVine is a game time decision, I think he's going to play. If he plays, that's going to be a great possible play there with LaVine against Milwaukee, because there's no Middleton to defend him. But if that's a game time decision. If he is out, then obviously we're going to have to start focusing on some of the other guys that Chicago will have available. We go over to the San Antonio-Dallas game. There's no injuries there. Injuries to look at in Minnesota-Utah. Obviously, the Wiggins situation, if he's out with the illness, we know all the way across the board. Josh Okogie is also a game time decision. If he's out, then that's going to open up the doors, obviously, for all the key guys. Teague, Graham, Culver will get a bump. Of course, Karl Anthony Towns as well. So those are the guys you're going to be looking at there for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Utah has no injuries to report that I know of here, at least on my sheet. Boston, Phoenix, no injuries there. And then we have, who's the last team? That, I think, is it for the injury report. Yep, so that's pretty much it. All right, so let's get over to the slate. So at point guard at the top, we got Luka Doncic, we got Damian Lillard, we got Kyrie Irving. Again, all these guys, they could be playable. I mean, we know Doncic is a top-tier guy. 11,400 against San Antonio. Woof. A little high for me. I do like his price tag a lot better on DK for Doncic. Doncic is 9,800 on DK. That's $1,600 cheaper, so I can see him being penciled in there. Damian Lillard, 9,800. He's been struggling as of late. Tough matchup against Houston. Not because he's going to deal with Russell Westbrook and as well as James Harden. But he gets up for these games, so you never know what you're going to get with Dame. 9,800, a little pricey for the matchup for me, at least in my opinion, here on FanDuel. But on DK, he's 8,600. He's $1,200 cheaper there, so his price is a little more appealing to me on DK. Houston giving up 24.5 fantasy points per game. I like Russell Westbrook, to be totally honest. Kyrie Irving would be an option here against Indy because there's no Brogdon, so that would definitely work. And if there's no Jeremy Lamb, there's no doubt that Kyrie Irving would really stand out quite a bit there in that matchup at home against Indy. But you gotta have to watch this all the way too. Again, like I said, if you're following along or you come and join my Team DFS Zone on my Patreon page, we will know more or less at least a half hour to an hour before lock if Kyrie Irving is someone that we could definitely look at. But right now, at the moment, I'm going to come down to Westbrook, man. I really do. I just feel that I'd rather play Russell Westbrook here in this matchup. Granted, he hasn't looked that good as of late. His numbers haven't been looking good, but this is a guy that's a double-double machine. He's capable of getting you a triple-double. He's at 9,400. His price tag is a lot more appealing on DK, and I think I will have a little bit more exposure to him on DK than FanDuel at the moment. But and remember, these guys are not set in stone. I'm going to keep saying that because I want people to understand that I'm giving you what I think is or what I feel is from what I've seen statistic-wise and matchup-wise, that these are guys we can watch and we could probably pencil in. We won't know until really the end of the day. But right now, Russell Westbrook looks appealing to me, and he looks a lot more appealing to me on DK as far as price. But he's averaging 43 fantasy points per game. And granted, his numbers don't look great. 32 plus in 4 out of the last 5. But this is a guy that has 50, 60 point upside. And the key for me is minutes. He's playing 32 minutes a night. His usage rate is nearly 30% at 29%. Okay? And he's getting tons of shots. He's getting plenty of opportunities. 27 to 28 shots per game, including threes. That is a lot of shots. So when you're shooting that many and you're playing that many minutes and you're getting that many amount of shots and you are an integral part of an offense for a team, getting a 29% opportunity and usage, yes, he is definitely someone that you got to take a stab on time and time again. Now, granted, he hasn't looked good, but this is a day here. If I'm going to pay up here for any of these guys, I'm going to have to say Russell Westbrook with his upside is probably my favorite play. And that's just the way I feel right now at the moment. He's going up against Portland. They're 26 in defending point guards. And we know Damian Lillard is not the greatest defender. They've been allowing 39.2 fantasy points per game over the last 4 or 5 games. And that's the worst right now. That is the most fantasy point totals on this actual slate to positions, DVP. Okay, Van Fleet, 52. Trae Young put up 61. Irving put up 50. Those guys are 3 out of the last 4 or 5 games. Those were the opponents. Other options here at point guard, like I said, I do like Westbrook on DK. On DK, Doncic looks good at 9,800. Lillard looks even better at 8,600. Westbrook at 8,300 is great. I also think that Eric Bledsoe is someone you can consider. He put up 48 against Chicago in the last meeting just a couple of games ago. Chicago giving up 27.2 fantasy points per game. Then you got Chris Paul going up against his old organization, the Los Angeles Clippers. He is 7K. He's 6,600 on DK. You need 33 there. And they're giving up 38.5 fantasy points per game. I think that's an option. And then, of course, on the bottom tier, you got to look at Aaron Holiday, no Brogdon. If Jeremy Lamb is out, then you can consider the 2 Holiday brothers again. But Aaron Holiday will stand out a little bit more at 4,100. He is 5,500 on DK. I don't like that price, but on FanDuel at 4,100, he's definitely playing. And then you always got that Patty Mills thing where he's always at 38, 3,900, and sometimes he goes out there and he puts up 20, 25 fantasy points or better. So he's an option too at 3,800, with Dallas giving up 32, almost 33 fantasy points per game. So that's an option for you guys. At the moment, those are the guys I'm looking at. At shooting guard, we got James Harden at the top, 12,500. If I'm going to pay all the way up to the top, I'd rather get Giannis today in his matchup against Chicago, which is going to be competitive. This one will be as well. But I just am leaning, like I always tell you before, if I'm not on Harden, I am on Westbrook if the matchup is right. And this is going to be a really high-paced up game. The implied totals in that game are going to be fairly high. But we're going on. So Harden is someone you can consider. I think Giannis is probably a better play. Andrew Wiggins more than likely out. Donovan Mitchell is not bad. I wouldn't mind it. I'm going to go to Fred VanVleet one more time again. I had him a couple of games back. He did fairly well. He met value. I expect him to meet value or maybe even exceed value here. I forgot to put Westbrook here at the top. But Fred VanVleet, 7,800. You need 38 to meet value. He needs 7,400 on DK. He's averaging 37 to 38. Numbers have been pretty good, 36-plus minutes or more in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight games. He's had, in the last 2 games, 24 and 30 off the floor with 7 assists apiece, and he can give you steals and blocks. He's been really, really good since Lowry's out. 40 or better in 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the last 5 games. He's at 40 or better, and that's above his average of 37. So he's trending upward, and his price tag is still reasonable. He was 7,800, I think, the 2 days ago, and it's no different here today. He has 50-point upside, so you got to consider him. He's shooting 39% from the floor, 40% from 3. He has been improving slightly but surely from the floor, but the beauty of it is if he gets to the foul line, which he does at times, 92% from the foul line, and his usage rate is at 25, 26% at the moment, and he's still taking massive shots, 25 to 26, including threes altogether from the floor every single night for the last 3 or 4 nights, the last 3 or 4 games that he has played. So he is someone you must consider. He's going up against Charlotte. They are at home. Okay, Toronto is at home. Going up against Charlotte. Charlotte is allowing 31.2 fantasy points per game to opposing point guards. And the reason I say point guards is because on FanDuel, VanVleet is a shooting guard, but he is on DK. He's eligible as a point guard and shooting guard, and he's been playing the point for Toronto. All right, so 31.2. Charlotte has given up to opposing point guards. They gave up 39 to Morant, 40 to Jrue Holiday, and Frank Ntilikina of the Knicks put up 26. These are the 3 out of the last 4 games. Those have been the opponents. I think Fred VanVleet is in an excellent position to do well there as well. If you're looking at other shooting guard opportunities, if you're going to look at other shooting guard opportunities, you're going to come down Zach LaVine. This is a game-time decision with the ankle. If he's able to play, I think that he's in a good spot. No Chris Middleton to defend him. I do like the matchup for Zach LaVine at home, especially 7,400 for him. You pretty much need 37 to meet value. He is 6,900 on DK, and you need 34 there. He's averaging 36, so he's a $500 discount on DK. Minnesota without no Middleton, giving up 37 fantasy points per game to opposing shooting guards. So if LaVine could get in there, I can see him getting his 35-40. He should be able to meet value, and of course he has the upside to get you a GPP play there if you wanted to go that route. Another guy to look at, not so much so here on FanDuel, Alexander for OKC, 7,300 going up against his old team, his old organization. This is not a bad spot for him. I don't love this price of 7,300 on FanDuel, but on DK, he's 6,300, $1,000 cheaper. That definitely is appealing to me. You only need 31, 32 to meet value. The guy is averaging pretty much 34, as you can see here. And if they have no Beverly, that's going to be even a better matchup for Alexander. Even a better matchup. So no Patrick Beverly will definitely be a major boost. I would definitely keep an eye on that. Again, follow along today, and maybe he may be on that player pool as well. 30.2 fantasy points per game the Clippers have given up. Other than that, a guy who's been red hot, Devontae Graham, could be an option. He's 6,900 on DK, 7,200 here. You need about 34, 35 to meet value. Toronto's been giving up 27.5 fantasy points per game. The other one to look at is Spencer Dinwiddie. I do plan to have Spencer Dinwiddie. He's on my radar. He's on my list right now. Don't know if he's going to be at the end of the day. But Spencer Dinwiddie, if there's no Kyrie Irving, he's over 30% usage rate when there's no Kyrie. He would definitely be a no-brainer. At 5,800, you need 28. He is 6,000 on DK, so I guess DK knows something that we don't know. He is priced up by $200 there. You need 30. I still think he can definitely get you that with no Kyrie Irving. Indiana, 38.7 fantasy points per game. The other thing that I like also is that if there is no Jeremy Lamb in that game, no Kyrie, no Jeremy Lamb, or no Brogdon, it definitely elevates the possibilities for Brogdon to have a fairly good game. Malik Monk, 4,700 on FanDuel. Definitely like that price for him as opposed to the 5K on DK. And then a couple of guys that you can look at the bottom that I'm still keeping an eye on. Garrett Temple, of course, for Brooklyn. Of course, we got to eye that situation with Kyrie. And Sterling Brown has been getting 20-plus minutes for the Milwaukee Bucks and doing fairly well going up against Chicago, who's giving up 29.3 fantasy points per game. Would be someone to consider. He's only 3,700 and 3,900 respectively in the two sites. We're going to go over the small forward. A small forward, very interesting thing there. Right now at the moment on my original player pool as of last night, Giannis is on that list for sure. We don't know if he's going to be there at the end of the day. Paul George is there for sure. Paul George will be someone that I'll definitely target for certain today on FanDuel and DK if there is no Kawhi Leonard. Now, granted, a lot of people are going to be on him as well. But again, on a 9-game slate, anything can happen. He is not going to be that. Even if he's 25 to 30% owned, that is not considered chalk. At least in my opinion, it just isn't. I consider someone chalky over 40, 50%, especially over 50% on a 9-game slate. Maybe if you're playing him on the after hours, then he'll be definitely very chalky. But Paul George here, if there is no Kawhi, if Kawhi Leonard is going to be out today, Paul George will be my favorite play here at 9,600 because he's been putting up ridiculous numbers, I mean, you can't even count. Right now, I can't even count. It's got to be 1.7, 1.8 fantasy points per minute or better over the first 2 games. But if Kawhi plays, then I'll be willing to pivot over to Pascal Siakam. I think he's just in a great spot, Siakam. Now, granted, Siakam is a small forward here, but he's small forward, power forward eligible on DK, and he plays pretty much power forward right now for Toronto. Remember, the small forward for Toronto has been OG. Now, you can go down and play OG here at 57, 5,800. I think he's not a bad play, but for the screen here for FanDuel, I'm going to go with Pascal. So Siakam at 9,300. You need 46, 47 to meet value. On DK, he's 9,000. You need 45. He's averaging 44, 45. And the beauty of it is that he's got upside. I love the minutes. He's playing over 41 minutes in 4 straight games. And look at this, 36, 15, 24 off the floor. He put 44 here against New Orleans. He's capable of getting you double-doubles at 1, 2, 3, 4 over the last 6 games. And he brings the defense, blocks, steals. Granted, the last few games, we've lost some fantasy points here. As you can see, with 5 and 4 turnovers, he cleans that up. He'll be fine. But if you're looking at his numbers, his floor in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of his last 6 games, he's been pretty much at 39 or better. So he should be close to value. I think he's going to be at value, and I think he has the potential to get you 50 or better in this matchup today and exceed value. All right? He's shooting 47% from the floor, 35% from 3, which is excellent. I don't think, personally, that Charlotte, with either P.J. Washington or Miles Bridges, are going to be able to handle these 2 young guys with this guy. He's lanky. He's quick. He's more athletic and agile. I just don't know. I like his game, and I just think that this is a really tough matchup for P.J. Washington or Miles Bridges. Shooting 82% from the floor, shoots the ball well. He's at 31% with no Kyle Lowry in the lineup. He can get you the steals and blocks. Like I said, he's taking, in the last 4 games, 26 to 27 shots per game, that also including threes. It's just, I just love the matchup, man. He has 50, almost 60-point upside. You can't go wrong with him at all. He's going up against Charlotte. They are 22nd in defending small forwards, 24th defending power forwards, allowing 31.2 fantasy points per game to opposing power forwards. They have given up 34 to Blake Griffin, 32 to Al Horford. Kenrich Williams put up 34, and Jason Tatum put up 43. This is all over the last 4 out of the last 5 games. Okay, so Siakam in play for me. Other options, like I said, if I'm not on Siakam, I'm paying up $300 easily and getting myself some Paul George. I may play them in separate lineups and have some Siakam just to mix things up. But Paul George will be my top play here if he's able to, if Kawhi Leonard has been ruled out. Other than that, other options you may have other than George and Giannis. Like I said, OG Anunoby you got to consider, and you got to consider at the bottom Taurean Prince if there's no no Kyle Lowry, and you always got to consider Harris for the Nets as well. Jarrett Culver, of course, if Okogie doesn't go, Jarrett Culver will be in play. And I do like also Justin Holiday, obviously at 3,800. You can't go wrong with the minutes he'll play if there's no Jeremy Lamb as well as Brogdon, which right now we know that Brogdon is out. If Jeremy Lamb has been ruled out as well. Now, if Jeremy Lamb, interesting, I didn't say for a shooting guard, Jeremy Lamb is able to go and he has no minutes restrictions, which I don't think he will be. He will be an excellent play as shooting guard at $6,300, $6,400. So I will have exposure to him if he's able to play. Okay, so that you gotta remember. I forgot to mention that. All right, let's go over to power forward. At power forward at the top, we got Kawhi, of course. We got Sabonis. We know that Sabonis is going to play. I already got the news that he is going to play. He's going to start. At first, I was thinking maybe going towards Turner if there was no Sabonis, but obviously that is not the case now. I think Turner still is a good option because you're playing against Brooklyn. The same here could be said about Sabonis. But I'm going to come down. I'm going to pay a little bit down here, and I'm going to go with a guy in Daniel Theis. Daniel Theis is going to more than likely start at center. He shares the time with Cantor, and at the moment he's averaging about 21, 22 points. But again, because I want to free up and be able to get Pascal or Paul George while I have those other guys, I have to consider some other options. So he is someone that I would consider because he's a good point per minute player. $4,700 on FanDuel, $4,000 on DK. You need about 23 here, 20 over there. He's averaging 22. He's playing 21 to 22 minutes a game. He's a 1 point per minute player. I mean, the numbers are there. 26 here and 22, 21, 24, 21 minutes here, put 27. He's capable of getting you a double-double. He gets you rebounds, and he can definitely get you some steals and blocks. Now, if he can get those up and even get some scoring opportunities, he's good in the paint. He's physical. He's going up against Aaron Baines today, so it's going to be pretty interesting because Baines is going up against his former organization in Boston. But this is going to be an interesting game. I think at 4,700, as long as he gets 20 to as much as 25 minutes, I think he can get you that point per minute that you need. And he may just be able to get a little bit more. He might be able to get you 30. If he plays 25 to 30 minutes, he can get you 25 to 30 fantasy points. So I like Baines. I like Daniel Theis there. He's shooting 47% from the floor, And, granted, he doesn't take a whole lot of shots. That's expected because he's there to do all the dirty work, rebounds, get some blocks, get some steals, be physical in the paint. And that's what he's there, to do, all the little dirty work. Other than that, you can consider Jason Tatum versus Phoenix. Phoenix is allowing 34.8 fantasy points per game. Don't love his price tag on FanDuel at 8,300 because he's not averaging over 40-somewhat points. As you can see, he's only averaging 36. But his price tag on DK is pretty decent. 7,600. You need 36 over there. Another guy that could be a little sneaky here and is Jared Allen. Now that we know that Sabonis is in the game, the Nets definitely need Allen to really step in here and give them. And 5,400, he's another guy that's a good point per minute guy. 5,400 for him. And 34, 32 in the last two. In 21 and 29 minutes respectively. And as you can see, when he played 30 minutes or so, he was pretty much getting 1.1 fantasy points per minute. So he is someone you can consider 5,400. And he is... didn't get down his number on DK. I think he is 50. I think he's less than 5,400 on DK. So he's a person you can consider. And then coming down a little bit lower, you got guys like Green at 4,000, Taj Gibson for New York 3,800. Royce O'Neal gets sometimes as much as 25, 30 minutes in a game for Utah. For that price tag, the minutes at least is worth it. He doesn't have tremendous upside. He can get you about 30. Don't see a tremendous amount of value on power forward today. At center, at the top, you got the two monsters. You got Towns and Gobert going up against each other. And to be honest with you, I'd rather pay for Rudy Gobert here. I think Gobert has been playing really solid lately. He's a better defender than Towns, so you'll probably, more than likely can neutralize Towns from having a big game. I won't say Towns is not going to score 50. He might be able to get 50, 55. But at this price tag, you want him to really smash. Me, GPP, I want him to have 65 or better. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. Gobert's been playing really well, and Gobert can get you 50. He has been playing well enough. He's been putting up 50 or better in 2 out of the last 3, pretty much 49 or better in 3 straight games. So, and he's at home. And he's a tough defender, so I would probably lean more towards Gobert and save $2,600. Other than that, Clint Capella is an interesting story. Like I said at the very beginning of the video, if Capella happens to be out, then it would be a nice play is to pivot over and pay down a little bit and go after Whiteside, who is a good point per minute player as well, can get you blocks and steals, really bring up the peripherals. If Capella plays, then you can go either or. I still think I'll probably lean towards Whiteside because he's cheaper by $800, but Capella out will be something to watch. If he is out, definitely Hassan Whiteside will be an awesome play. Montrezl Harrell could be someone to consider, 7,600. You need here on DK 6,200, which is a really great price tag, and they're going up against OKC to giving up 31.6 fantasy points per game. Again, Tristan Thompson maybe a little bit. He's on my list right now. Miles Turner was on my list. He still is. But with Sabonis there now, I'm a little hesitant to go that route. I'm going to come down to Aaron Baines, man, going up against Boston. His former organization, he's been playing really, really well here. He is more than likely going to meet value. So I think for me personally, he's going to be someone you can consider for cash. And he has enough upside to play him as a GPP in a matchup where he may be a little fired up to show Boston, hey, you know what? I would have loved playing there a little bit longer, but I'm here now. So Baines, 15, 5, and 3. Granted, his last game he only put up 6. This was a game where it ended up being a blowout, and most importantly with him is that he got into foul trouble early, and that ruined his night. And then, of course, it became a blowout game. But overall, before that, at 6,000, you need 30. He's had 31. He has had 29 or better in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight games. And 29 or better, he's been trending slowly but surely up because his average is 28. Okay? So we know he can get you 30. You can easily see this over 6, and I usually only want to gauge it in like 4, maybe 5 games. But this is over a course of 6 games other than this blowout game here. If you can stay out of foul trouble, he should be fine. 57% shooting, 47% from 3, man. That is pretty darn good for a big. 72% free throw shooter. He's taking about 14, 15 shots from the floor entirely, including threes, on the average. With a 50-point upside, I think this is a great opportunity for him, and it's all more about motivation. Up front, it'll be him going up against Theis and Cantor. I think that Baines can hold his own. I really do. So right now at the moment, he's one of my favorite plays there just to be able to make room here for other plays. So that's where I'm at here. Westbrook, Van Fleet, Siakam, Theis and Baines. And like I said, if you're interested on, if you're gonna pay up, I think Gorbert would be the best play. Whiteside, if there's no Capella. If Capella is playing, maybe you could pivot over to Harrell. But again, there's nothing wrong with going with Turner if you wanted to go that route, because Brooklyn is definitely has their vulnerability up front, but he's going to lose out a little bit of the rebounding and some easy putbacks and scores with Sabonis in there, who's a little bit more aggressive. And that's pretty much where I'm at, man. Again, like the video, comment down below. If you want to be on the weekly giveaway, make sure that you are subscribing to the channel. Check out the Patreon page if you want to follow along. You want to become a part of the Team DFS Zone on Patreon. Again, we have a private chat for the monthly, and at the same time on Discord, we have a Discord private chat there as well for the monthly tier members. And of course, you're going to be able to have the option. Again, check out the tiers if you want to get GPP weekly or you want to get monthly. I got GPP, cash plays, and value plays. I narrow everything down after I do all my research. At the end of the day, by 6:30, that is up, ready to go for you guys, and we can chit chat if you want on Discord. And on top of that, if you do the monthly, the same thing. And of course, I also have the tier for the player pool. So again, that's pretty much where I'm at. My Simply Fancy Home, thank you again. Make sure that you reach out to me so that you can start getting your player pool as of today. And everybody, I wish you guys a lot of luck, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.